Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another video by me, Boilon. Today we're going to be talking about what's going to be the horrific math for the milestone of the Ace of Raids Gambit event coming up on Wednesday at store reset time, presumably sometime after the patch, which will be either Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning. We don't have the maintenance message yet for that, of course, but there's a lot of crap, and I have to say that this is going to be not fun, and this is going to be maybe fun for the top 1% of players, the top 1% of raid players, because it is an absolute mess as far as the math goes. And I even learned something else this morning on my Discord channel about what's going to really mess up the numbers. And I didn't really think about this actually when I first did the numbers. So we're going to kind of look at that in the spreadsheet there. So if you're ready to go, then let's boil this down. And to start things off, I do want to kind of just pivot, just to let people know about this. I did this video the other day, but if you don't know what characters you're even wanting to use for this raid, I do have this kind of table here, this list of characters. I did a previous video on this. This is the Ace of Raids characters list, and like which characters I think are good, which ones are bad, and which ones are kind of trash. Now, the problem here with the raid in general is that you may end up dipping into the, probably not Deadpool and Domino, but you may end up dipping into some of these sort of trash tier characters because a lot of these lanes actually don't have any healing. And that's why I have to say that I think that this raid is designed to open up your wallet. They have a separate currency for raid heal packs and raid energy, and I think that's entirely designed to make money because they know it's going to fucking suck. I'm not going to mince words here because it is actually, in fact, a terrible event. It's not that I don't disapprove of new raids. I just want to say that right now, that I do like new raids, but I don't like the way that they tied it to a release character in this fashion with the milestones, and I don't like how those milestones have a knock-on effect to the Dazzler event milestones. So it's actually two characters that this raid impacts, and we're going to take a look at that when we take a look at the rewards chart here. So again, if you haven't taken a look at this, do check out my other video or check out my Discord. And so I want to start here. Now, this is the Ace of Raids rewards chart, and so I did this for 30%, 60% and 100%, and if you see anything in the sea blue or whatever kind of blue this is here, that's the scenario in which you get the Glimmer Bracelet. Alright, do you see it? Do you see it? There's not very many of them. There's one at 60% and 4 at 100%. Okay? Which means that if you want to get the Glimmer Bracelet, which is worth 10,000 milestone points, it's going to be very fucking hard. And actually, we'll talk about that thing that I didn't know about, from Discord this morning. And it's 2 7-day milestones. But for the first week, you're not actually going to get 7 raids to claim for the rewards. Because unless you 100% the raids and you clear the raid early, 7 instances of 24 hours, it's not going to start right at the start of the event, right? You're going to launch sometime, I don't know, within the first 6 hours maybe of store reset time. And then when you get that 7th payout, it's not actually going to be in week 1. The rewards are going to be given to you in week 2, which is interesting actually, because that means that that you might get a little bit more points towards week 2, towards the Glimmer Bracelet maybe, and we're going to have to recalculate that. But as far as the week 1 goes, you're only going to get 6 raids. You might get 7 raids of node completion. Like, you might be able to do all the nodes that you're going to do, but when the rewards actually pay out, it's going to be over onto that second week, on that very last raid of the first week, right? So why is that important? Because if you look down here, and this is where it's really rudimentary, because honestly, there's not much here. You need 10,000 milestone points to clear, okay? You get 10 Gambit shards, that's 5 each per week. They give you F-all, but you're getting a lot of that from the Gambit orbs anyways. You get 5,200 Disco Balls in week 1, and you get 1,300 in week 2, but you get the Glimmer Bracelet, so it's like 10,000 for that. Now, in order to get to the Glimmer Bracelet milestone, it's 8330 on week 2. However, on week 1, this 8330 is really important as well. Not as important as the Glimmer Bracelet. However, if you look back here, I know it's hard to see, but 8330 on week 1 awards 1180 disco balls. So that is a lot towards the Dazzler milestone. And that's that light blue color, the blue color that you saw on the chart above here. So it's really important to still get to that 8330 on week 1. It's more important on week 2, but if you want to get all these disco balls, which is inevitably going to funnel back into that Dazzler milestone, you still need to get there. Okay, and so how do you get there? Well, doing 30% even at difficulty 9 is not going to get you anywhere close. You're going to get, so if you see this line here, points over 7 days. This is going to be kind of important here. If you want to take a look at the total gold orb fragments and Gambit orb fragments, they're all here. That's this stuff. The cards, points, this is the payout that you get, the rank rewards that you get, once the raid is over. And then the node points, I have in bracket 3, and that's just assuming you do 3 nodes for 30%. If everyone does 3 nodes, you get 30%. For 60%, it's assuming 6 nodes, and then for 100%, it's assuming 8. But there's a total of 60 nodes, and divided by 8 players, it's actually 7.5. So there may be some instances where some people are getting more points than others because some are just pushing harder or able to clear more than others. And so these are just kind of average figures. Some people may be less than this. Some people may be a little bit more than this, depending on how gung-ho or how good your roster is. But these are the average points that you're going to get over 7 days. And this is the problem because I didn't really realize that it's over 7 days. Like I said, for the first week, it's going to be 6 payouts, not 7. Unless you 100% the raids and you're somehow able to do that. And actually, there's a really good point here is if you don't care about the week 1 disco balls, there may be, and I don't know if they considered this either, there may be an opportunity that you might be able to save your rewards inbox to claim it for the points in week 2. I'm not sure though. Is that risky? Maybe, because what if you don't end up getting it on week 2's milestone and maybe it's actually designed specifically for week 1's milestone, is somehow hard-coded into that? I don't know. And I can't say that. Is that a good idea? I can't say that either, because what if you hold on to those raid mailboxes and then you claim it on week 2 and you don't get it? Then you kind of get fucked out of, week 1 stuff that you might have been able to get otherwise. And so I don't know if that's a good idea or not. But you can kind of look at the points here and how it's going to be very hard to get to where you need to be. There's a huge gap between the different rank rewards, between 30%, 60%, and 100% in terms of the points, the milestone points over 7 days. I'm not here to talk about how many Gambit orbs you're going to get. You can see the numbers here for yourself. The importance here is the milestone points. So if you want to get to the 8330, which is important not only for the Glimmer Bracelet, but for the disco balls, the large amount of disco balls that are in the week 1, then you need to run 60% plus on difficulty 9, which is designed at gear tier 16. Just to clarify, for those who don't know, difficulty 7 is gear tier 15. Difficulty 8 is also somewhere in the 50%, in the gear tier 15 range, and difficulty 9 is gear tier 16 enemies. So 7, 8, and 9 are going to be some of the hardest contents, and 9, obviously, all the enemies are going to be gear tier 16. You're going to be fighting gear tier 16 enemies with suboptimal characters from this chart, right? And how far are you going to be able to get without wailing out on, heal packs, the new heal packs, because that's what they want you to do. This is a whale and Kraken event through and through. Okay? Here's the numbers, and if you are a very strong alliance that can 100% every single day while Doom Raid is running, great. You deserve these rewards. Then you'll probably get it from difficulty 6 and above at 100%. If you can do this every single day, free to play without spending on these heal packs, I think it's going to be very challenging, frankly. This is even without knowing what we're going to expect. Like, we don't know how hard the enemies are going to be, but what we do know is the gear tier of the enemies, and what we do know is that there's going to be scourges attached to that. I think some people forgot that it's not just raiding against regular enemies. You're fighting somewhat randomized sets of nodes with scourges and high gear tier, while you're using suboptimal shitty characters. In a lot of instances that weren't designed for raids. You're using a lot of characters that actually were not designed for raids, and that's kind of the most important thing here. Now, what I want to do with the math here, though, is because, like I said in the beginning, it's not actually, hypothetically, you're only going to be claiming 6 days of raid rewards, not 7. And so that means in week 2, you'll either be getting 7 raid rewards claims in week 2 or 8. It depends on if the milestone extends a little bit past the end of that Wednesday, right? Because you might end up in a situation where you're claiming raid rewards, but you don't get any milestone points out of it because of, right? Do you see what I mean? Because like if the raid ends, when you launch the raid and that raid ends after the milestone closes, then you're not getting any rewards for that. So in week 2, you may get 7 and you may get 8. Depends on what the milestone looks like. Maybe by that point, Scopely will have figured out, yeah, okay, we didn't think about when people are actually launching the raids, and so we need some wiggle space. That might happen, but this is Scopely and Boundless we're talking about, so I wouldn't put it past them. They probably didn't even think about this. But for shits and giggles, you know, let's put in C8 is what I was looking for. So let's put in 6 days and see how this manipulates the data, right? And so this is for that, and it gets lower, right? Because you're only getting 6 raid rewards here, 4680. We can do the same thing down here. So this is for week 1, assuming that we're only claiming 6 lumps of raid rewards. We can spread this all the way down across, and you can see how this 8400 then turns into 7620. And so there's no chance that you can even get the finishing 8330 here by doing 60% plus in difficulty 9. And again, even with the 100%, let's see how this changes the numbers a little bit. Now this is going to get rid of my blues, unfortunately, but 8330 is the magic number. Okay, so difficulty 7, 100% is what, so difficulty 6 gets dropped off when you're only claiming 6 days worth of rewards in that week 1. So only scenarios of this are you going to, and I don't know which blue this was, frankly, but it doesn't really matter. It's only situations in this 100% at difficulty 7 and above are you going to get the 8330 plus on the milestone points from this raid. That's for week 1. Let's recalculate for week 2. So week 2 would have been the same as what I had previously, which would have been 60% at difficulty 9 and all of this stuff down below, because that was with 7 collections, right? And so let's see what happens when you collect 8. Because what if the 7th raid from week 1 gets carried over onto week 2, and you're somehow able to claim 8 rewards, right? And so let's try that and see how that recalculates the numbers. And we can kind of spread that across. Obviously, when it comes to the 30%, that's probably not going to cut it. It's not cutting it. You need that 8330. That's the magic number. So let's see how that impacts the 60% numbers, though, because I think that's kind of the most important. Okay, so you can see that if you're claiming 8 on week 2, then you're actually going to cut it here at difficulty 8, 60% plus. So you've actually gone down in difficulty only if you're given an additional day. So one of those raid rewards gets carried over essentially into week 2. And so now we have this. But we're not at the 10,000 that you need to clear the milestone. And in very few instances are you actually getting that 10,000, because 10,000 is clearing the milestone, which has that Elite 5 and, you know, some other stuff in there. You're most likely not going to get that, and 99% of the players are not either. And so this is 8 days here on this side, and you can see that actually if you do difficulty 5 at 100% every single day, don't forget, this has to be every single day, then you will get that Glimmer Bracelet. But otherwise, these are the only instances in week 2 where you're going to get that. Sorry, I have to take a drink of water. That's how crazy this is. Okay? So hopefully some of this, you know, there's a lot of numbers here. I hope that some of this was, you know, helped you understand how difficult, how much of a pain in the ass, and how whale-inducing this event is going to be. Because the magic number here for the Glimmer Bracelet is 8330, and even outside of week 2, you're going to need them for the disco balls, right? Because this all funnels back into the Dazzler milestone. You can see here at 7790, you get 600 disco balls, and then you get 1180 at 8330. So there's quite a few disco balls up for grabs, you know, 1780 on week 1. And so these are equally important as well, just as much as the Glimmer Bracelets are. So basically, in a nutshell, Commanders, you're going to get fucked, whether you like it or not, and this is not very good, because the amount of alliances that I think are going to be able to do this are a very small number, which means that I think, you know, maybe I'm exaggerating when I say only 1% of the player base is going to actually complete this, but I think I'm not too far off, actually. You know, I honestly don't know if my alliance is going to be able to perform enough to get the Glimmer Bracelet, even without seeing the difficulty of the raid itself. I think is going to be really challenging. Now, there's a couple of tips that I want to give, though, before we end off the video, and I want to let you guys know how you can maybe do a little bit better as far as pushing for 60%. And that's why I wanted to bring up this raid map, which was available on the blog post. You can see this yourself. This was their recommendations for the 8 lanes. What we may do is, instead of doing 8 lanes, or sorry, 8 people in the different lanes, we may do 3 lanes. And what that means is that we're going to do the outside, diamonds and hearts. There's 14 nodes apiece. Maybe put 3 people or something in there, and then 2 people on the inside lane for the purple line here, the spades and the clubs. There's a total of 12 or 13 nodes here if you follow it all the way around, all the way to the end. And so what that means is that you're going to get about, I believe, 40 or 41 nodes. And so if you can spread out and just stack up your alliance in that way, then you're going to get, no, I do it the other way. So like 41 nodes divided by 60, that's 68%. So you'll be able to get over 60% doing just a couple of lanes. And if this raid is as difficult as it seems that it might because of all the scourges and things like that, this is a personal recommendation from me. Now, I think what we might do is we might just try to do it the 6-lane way, because there's actually 6 lanes here. We might try to do that at first, because you need to put 2 people on the hearts and diamond lanes, and then 1 person on each of the other ones, and then they converge a little bit there. If we're not able to do that and get to 60% or higher, then we're going to have to, you know, condense that and then do maybe 3 lanes instead, and just shove multiple people on each of the lanes and hope for the best, right? And the problem with that, though, is it's going to depend on your individual amount of nodes cleared. And I want to double back really quickly to the math of the table, because you're getting points, milestone points per node cleared. You know, in difficulty 7, 8, 9, you're getting 60, 65, and 70 points per node. So it's very important that you individually clear nodes where possible, because that's going to impact your total milestone points towards actually clearing this event. So some people in your alliance may clear it because they have, you know, pushed harder than others, and some people may not because they're not able to clear enough nodes. On the whole, this is really fucking terrible to reach that goal for 8330. This is the first event since they started doing this in May that these items are very hard to achieve. This is the hardest event throughout May and June that you're going to struggle with. I'm going to struggle with this, and if I'm going to struggle with this in my alliance, I think at least 80 to 90% of the rest of the player base will too. I'm not saying my alliance is the most amazing thing in the world. We are a top 500, you know, alliance, but, you know, if I think that we're going to have a problem, I think a lot of other people will too. So let me know in the comments down below what you think about this after you've heard all of this. What is your plan? Because, like, I think we're going to start at, like, difficulty 8, 60%, and just see how hard it is. And then see if we can even fathom doing difficulty 9 or not. Like, I don't know. Honestly, like, I have a couple of more days to think about a proper game plan. But we're going to start by, you know, assigning our lanes, and then go from there, and then see how difficult it is on launch. But as far as the points go and the numbers go, numbers don't lie, and so that's not going to change. The only thing that will change is whether or not the actual node itself is difficult for you to clear or not. And if it is really hard, then hell, these numbers are going to be even less achievable. And that's all I have to say, because this is going to be a shit show and a half on Wednesday. Good luck, Commanders. Scopely wants to tell you to get fucked, because that's probably what's going to happen, and it's not going to be a good ride. This is going to be an absolute nightmare and a half. So that's it. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Don't forget to, you know, hit the subscribe button and ring that notification bell if you want to hear more event news, more event updates from me. Until then, I'll see y'all later. Boilon signing out.